Hello, Mark Thompson, this is. The voice of Yoda I am in many Star Wars audiobooks. Do or do not listen to Youtini.
You're listening to The Living Force, a Youtini podcast.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Episode 10, Starship Celebration Spectacular.
Admiral, this is Blue Leader standing by.
This is Gold Leader, standing by.
This is Red Leader, standing by.
This week, initial thoughts on Alphabet Squadron.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Other books about starships and pilots, and which Star Wars characters would make up the best squadron.
Blue Squadron on me!
Here are your hosts, Dr. Corey Helton.
Oh, Lyra. Troublesome as ever.
Eric Eilerson.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations.
And Dr. Charles Henkel.
And there's a fresh one if you mouth off again.
I now have like 3 more months to save for Celebration than I thought, though, because I was seriously expecting like April or May.
Yeah, it's August. Yeah,
so and you have an entire summer to save more money.
I know. I've already briefed all my coworkers. I've been like, listen, I will do anything if you will trade to get me the 5 days off I need to go to this thing. Like, I will take Christmas and Thanksgiving both years if I have to get it. But I think we get, like, I don't know what your leave schedule looks like, Charles, but I get, like, 17 days of leave, so.
I get, like, weekends not counting, I get 2 weeks, but then we also are guaranteed 5 days for Christmas or New Year's. So, yeah.
Man, this freelance life, I get any day off I want, I just don't make money on them.
Eric, last time for Celebration, you last minute had to sell your tickets because you randomly got a job. All right, that's not true at all.
I know. I chose to take that job, though. I could have decided not to.
Because you needed money.
There's the rub.
Poor gullet.
But you know what else I need, guys? I need episode 10 of the Living Force podcast. We are officially out of titles.
Yes.
No.
This could be the Rogue One episode, though. Matt, make this the Rogue One episode.
That's my favorite one, so this is going to be the best episode.
Yeah. So this is our Rogue One episode. It technically should go between episodes 3 and 4, but here we are anyway. I am one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and I am here with 2 phenomenal dudes who have been waiting for an hour for me to get done with my life so we can record this thing. Number 1, Dr. Corey Helton. What's up?
What up, what up, what up?
And Dr. Charles Henkel.
Hello, gentlemen. How we doing?
Hello. Doing great, man.
I can't believe we're at 10 episodes, guys.
I can't believe it, and I can't believe we're back to just us.
Yeah.
In the past 2 weeks, we've had Kevin Scott, Mark Thompson, and now it's 3 guys from the internet.
Way less interesting. I can't believe we pulled off those interviews, and those were super, super fun. Like both of those guys were so cool to talk to, and I'm really glad we got to do that. That was awesome.
It was so much fun.
So another huge thank you to both Kevin and Mark. They're the last 2 episodes in our feed. If you happen to be a new listener, welcome. Check those out for some info on Dooku Jedi Lost, which the both of them worked on, and Mark's voice acting career, Kevin's writing career, and a couple Project Luminous hints that were kind of dropped.
I think so. I don't think we should talk about them like specifically because we don't want to accidentally figure it out and then, get in trouble. But there were some like legit, I think, strong hints in those episodes if you were paying attention.
Yeah, so that was a blast. And if you are new, which you might be because, dudes, this was a crazy week for us in the Living Force world. Because at the time of recording, this last week, at some point, we had 98 Twitter followers. And I was like, you know what? I like 3 digits. I'd love to get to 100.
So
that'd be fun.
The most cliche thing you've ever done, Eric.
It is, but you know what's awesome about cliches? They're cliches for a reason.
That's right.
Because I sent out a tweet saying I would love if we could get 100 followers by our next recording. And within 3 hours, we were at 155.
It's pretty good, just for like a random, hey, come follow us,
Yeah. So
sometimes all you got to do is ask.
That's it. And if you're one of those people, thank you so much. We're currently at 176, which is absolutely incredible. And we honestly have to give a huge, huge shout out to Lacey Gilleran from the Resistance broadcast. She kind of took that tweet, retweeted it to their audience, which is huge. If you guys haven't listened to the Resistance broadcast before, do it. They're hilarious. They got a bunch of great ideas. and they are on Twitter at Lacey Gillerin and at RB at SWNN. But also, if you're listening to this, you probably listen to them. Like they have quite a big.
Is that Star Wars Newsnet? Is that what that is?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I wonder.
They're part of that.
I don't know those individuals, so I have to check them out. We should. I feel another collaboration in the works. Hopefully.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, Lacey, if you're listening, thank you again, and let's talk about it. That'd be a blast.
Yes.
Additionally, I'm going to send a thank you to As One in the Force, which is the name of both the person and the Twitter handle at As One in the Force. They were another huge reason that we got a bunch of followers, and they're an awesome positive force on Twitter for Star Wars. I mean, they are good at promoting a lot of people that have great ideas, have great vibes. So I was frankly kind of shocked and honored that they chose us to promote as well. And finally to Star Wars Diehards, which is at Star Wars DH. I mean, they picked it up. Guys, it was a great day.
It was.
I'm still kind of reeling from the fact that people wanted to.
It feels so stupid to get excited about a few Twitter followers, but it really is a big deal when you're trying to grow and you're trying to get into this for the first time. We're like breaking into the Star Wars podcasting community, so yeah. I mean, to see people that are willing to help us out it means a lot. And I think that we have something fun to bring to the table with the show, and it's awesome to hear that we have supporters out there that are getting into it. Also, it's fun.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is like. I mean, I just had, like, the longest conversation I've ever had with Corey while we were waiting for Eric. But, like, really, like, you guys are close friends of mine now. And this, like, the Living Force and Youtini before that really has become my family. And I want this to be a platform for other people to just listen in every week and feel like they're just talking with friends or family as well.
Absolutely.
Let's grow the family.
Oh,
yeah.
God. This is a good start, guys. I'm really happy about it. I'm feeling real sappy. This is going to be a great episode.
See that. If we start crying, we're gonna have to call it down, man.
Exactly. It's gonna be hey, it's the Rogue One episode,
That's
so if
true.
we're gonna cry, this is the one to do it.
We're at the end of it. We're gonna kill you.
Oh.
So just wait for that, everyone. But we do have a really cool show for you today. As we've said in our past 2 weeks, we did not talk about Alphabet Squadron. Those 2 episodes. It's been out for a couple weeks now. This episode, we're gonna give some brief, non-spoiler thoughts about that. And then kind of go down the garden path of books about starships, our favorite stories, and then we got a game that I am really excited about that we are going to do because we haven't played a game on here yet, really, with each other. We're going to try that out, and maybe it'll be horrible. Maybe we'll fail. And won't that be fun?
Some of our new Twitter followers were chanting like this was a gladiatorial arena, though. They want 2 of us to perish and 1 to walk away victorious.
Well, you'll just have to keep listening to see if that happens.
Who will win?
But before we get to that, it wasn't the biggest week in Star Wars book news. I mean, obviously the Alphabet release is still, we're still kind of in the afterlight of that. But we did have one really awesome bit of news that dropped today at the time of recording, which will date us as to how long we record. We got the Thrawn Treason San Diego Comic-Con exclusive cover today. Mm-hmm. And I want your guys' thoughts. What do you think?
I think it matches the other covers, which is interesting. Like the color scheme is really dark and black, and I don't think I've ever noticed that happening before with the special edition covers. Well, they'll kind of fit a theme, but
yeah, that's a good point.
They kind of do. The color schemes do.
A couple of things jumped out to me, and I only looked at it when it first came out. But one, Thrawn on a throne. I mean, or that's kind of like how it comes off, which is awesome.
The Thrawn throne? The throne of Thrawn?
The Throne of Thrawn. That is going to be the next series. 2, I mean, the straight army of Chiss behind him, because obviously at the end of the last novel, we were kind of getting a peek into some of the Chiss culture. Now, what I thought was weird was it looked like they were all wearing white, similar to his like Grand Admiral uniform, at least at first glance.
I agree.
So that's like an Imperial outfit, obviously. So I thought that was interesting.
I just finished my my wife and I just finished our rewatch of Rebels. She's never seen it before. So Thrawn's obviously a big character in the show and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how this fits together, because if I understand correctly, the previous book took place between the 3rd and 4th season of Rebels, and I'm assuming that this one is going to take place before the final season of Rebels also. Do you guys know?
I don't think anything's been confirmed about that as far as we know. Again, if we're wrong, tweet at us, yell at us, tell us we're incorrect. We would love it. But I do believe they're keeping pretty much everything under wraps about this book that they can.
I'm sure they are. I'm very curious to see if they're going to tie up some of the loose ends with Thrawn, like because of Rebels. I mean, he's been. I mean, there are big implications for canon with this book in general. So
yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Is I wonder if they would tie up what happened at the end of Rebels, which I won't say. Would they do that in this book? I don't know if they would, but I hope so.
Like, do we get that jump ahead? Is that the epilogue? You know, because I'd be down again. No spoilers, but whew. But if you want to find out with us, check out Thrawn Treason when it comes out July 23rd. We will definitely be talking about it in August on this podcast. We'll have our review out on Youtini, and friend of the show, Mark Thompson, will be doing the audiobook. So be sure to check out Mark's work. But now moving on to a more recent release, Alphabet Squadron, which if you are a fan of the show, you know that we love to digest each new canon release in 2-part episodes. That is not what this week is. That is going to be a couple episodes down the line because we like to give 30 days for everyone to read the book from release. But I thought, guys, it's been too long. I am chomping at the bit to talk about this book. Let's do some very basic, non-spoiler initial thoughts. So I'll start with you, Corey. If you want to just sum up your thoughts on Alphabet Squadron so far, what do you think? How far in you? How far in are you? Thank you. And what are you thinking?
So I did something very sort of odd and unique with this book. This is the first time I've ever done this with the Star Wars book. Is I read over half of it and then I stopped and started it over. I've never done that with the Star Wars book ever. And the reason I did that is I did not enjoy the first time I was reading it. It was just really, I was having a lot of trouble getting through it. It's very dense. Alexander Freed is a very technical writer, and I'm like super ADD, and Alexander Freed drops a lot of names, and it was really hard for me to follow. After Del Rey came out and posted those posters, like that sort of marketing build up to the book with the characters, the 4 main characters in it, I had faces to actually go with the names, and I was like, I thought that might affect my reading and understanding of what was happening, and you know, I was sort of negative about it a little bit, at least to you guys, and Eric, you had been reading it already, and our team had got the book at that point. And they were loving it, and I'm just like, well, I think I clearly missed something, so let me see if I'm too ADD for this crap and start it over. And it is better the second time, I will say. I think this book might just be one of those, we were talking about this earlier, might be one of those sort of controversial books in canon that I think not everyone is going to love. If you really like the technical stuff, I think you'll love it. It just takes a little while to get going, and you know, it's a little tedious at first, and I think there's definitely going to be moments in which it's going to feel like a heavier Star Wars novel, I think, than other stuff. And we just came out of Claudia Gray Works and Dooku Jedi Lost, which were both very easily digestible, I think, by a larger Star Wars audience. So I think that transition might have something to do with my interpretation of it, but I won't say I hate it. I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not going to say I dislike it. I don't think I would say it's my favorite so far, but I don't think it would fall into the category of bad. Like, if we gave it as a company less than like a 6 or a 5, I would be concerned. I don't think that's going to happen.
Totally. Charles, thoughts? Agree, disagree, vehement anger?
Well, so just to talk about something that you just said, Corey, I think that what you've read right before jumping into a new book has a huge impact on what you think about it. And if you came to read it at a different point in time, you may have a very different opinion about it. For me, though, what formed more of my experience thus far is that you two have the advanced copies, and so I felt like when I got my hands on it, I wanted to play catch up. So while I agree, Corey, that it is sort of slow to start and it is a little bit dense at times, just that's Freed's writing style, I really blew through the beginning of it very quickly. After I got through maybe the first third, I was really, really hooked. And with that being said, I should say that I have not finished the book yet. I still have about 80 pages. I really would love to finish it. I've just been so incredibly busy, and now we're doing stuff like this that I have not had a chance to pick it up. But I really, every time I've put it down, I have not been able to stop thinking about it. I'm very invested in the characters. I think that that's something that's done really well in Alphabet Squadron. and I really want to know how it's going to turn out. And I think that by the time I do end up finishing it, given that this is going to be a trilogy, that I am going to be really sad waiting around for the second installment.
Totally. I freaking love this book. Yo, like
I'm so
I know
shocked.
you do.
I'm so shocked to hear that. I mean, it's just like we often disagree like vehemently, which is amazing, which is the perfect dynamic you want on a show. Is like people that are not just they're like, oh yeah, you're right. No, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah. Okay. So like, it's good that we disagree, and like, I guess it makes sense because I didn't like it and you loved it. So I am surprised though for some reason.
I mean, for me, for my track record of books, because I did not care for Twilight Company. That's one of the only Star Wars books. I also kind of stopped. It got a little too technical for me, which is also by Alexander Freed, if you haven't read it yet. So I was a little hesitant about this book when I first got it, but it is when I closed the back cover, I thought this might be my favorite canon book. It itches the
that's high praise.
I know, and I still don't know. Like again, it's recency bias. I know that I'm gonna let it sit for a while to see what the staying power that it has. But it scratches the aftermath itch that I didn't realize I needed again. Because as you guys know, as I've said on this show, I love that trilogy a lot. And this gave me a new team of new characters, and it was very character-based. One of the critiques that I wrote about in our review of Alphabet Squadron, that is up on Youtini.com right now, if you want to check that out, was that a lot of team members didn't like the plot a lot. They thought it was slow, thought not a lot happened. And while I can see that, for me, I loved that this is such a character-driven book. I got to know every single one of the pilots, as I'm also going through a huge reemergence of love for Starship pilots recently. I got to know where they came from, what they wanted, what their relationship to each person was, how that evolved, the depth of their hopes, the depth of their losses, and all these different things, because Freed really took his time to introduce me to every one of them individually and then as a unit. And I just couldn't put it down. I wanted to know what was going to happen to my friends at a point, you know what I mean? Will Lark is one of my favorite characters in recent memory. And again, without any kind of spoilers, the last... God, I mean, Charles read about where you are, the last 80 or 100 pages or so. I think I read in a night because I just... Wow. It really just catapulted...
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I'm right at like a tipping point. Yeah. I can tell things are finally starting to pick up, but I'm on page like 250 or something. So I'm a long ways into the book, and it does take some time to get going.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because Corey, you said that you had a first-time Star Wars experience with starting the book over halfway through. I had a unique experience too because the second that I finished the book, I turned on the audiobook and started over and did it that way.
Yeah. I did that with Master and Apprentice, remember?
Yeah, that's right. It's so fascinating because
it is.
I'm not an audiobook guy usually. I get very distracted. So I'm like, I'm going to miss these story points. But because I had just read it, I really loved that because I could let myself get lost in the performance. I could get lost in the production. And even if I get distracted, I have enough recent memory of the book to kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done that ever for a Star Wars book... Do it.
There are cues in the audiobook too. Like I've told a bunch of people about this, so I can't remember if I've said this on the show or not. But major spoiler alert: if you haven't read Master and Apprentice, do not listen to the next couple minutes. I'm about to ruin the book for you, like for real. So in the audiobook, when you get to what's the princess Fanry? The first time we get inside of Fanry's head. In the audiobook, it silently plays in the background the Evil Emperor music. And
really?
Yes. So I had already read it, and my wife is listening. I'm just like, oh! I can't say anything, right? Because like this evil music is like slowly playing, and like she's kind of angry in the scene, so it fits a little bit, I guess. But I totally noticed it, and there are little cues like that in the audiobooks that have a cool cinematic effect on your, interpretation of the book. So
yeah. Now, I got to ask, guys, I just had this thought now looking at us in this call, because we even though we release these in audio, we do have video calls while we're doing these. I'm looking at us, and I'm wondering if the three of us are in a squadron, and we can each only have one ship, right? We can't all be X-Wings, can't be all whatever. Who's flying what in our Alphabet Squadron?
We each have to have a different ship?
We each have to have a different ship.
We should assign each other's ships.
Ooh, okay, yeah, I like that.
I agree, because you'll just pick your own. Like your favorite.
Right.
What would Eric be?
you know, Eric, you brought this up. You said that Will is your favorite character. I feel like the way Will acts is similar to the way that you act. You're very accepting of literally everybody. You meet everyone where they're at. And so I feel like I have this strong bias to throw you in an A-wing. And it really has very little to do with the fighter and more to do with the fact that you embody some of the same qualities as Will. Like, that being said, I'm very aware that you have an X-wing tattooed on your body. So
this is true. But dude, that's the best compliment I've gotten in weeks. So I'll take that.
I would agree with you. I would put Eric in an A-wing.
All right, I'm zipping around. I'm kind of scouting and watching out. All right, I'm the A-wing. I'll accept that. That'll be my next tattoo. I have another arm, so I'll have to do that.
Putting the A in Eric.
Yeah, you were so close. We're doing so well.
Wait for it. The only reason Corey didn't laugh is because he was in the middle of taking a sip of his drink.
All right, so Charles, let's do Charles. What are we thinking, Corey?
Charles strikes me as a real classic kind of guy. He's an X-wing through and through, man.
I was thinking X or Y-wing, but I'm also
a Y-wing,
right?
Oh, maybe he is a Y-wing
because I'm like Y-wing. Because you're dependable and you're always if someone's in trouble and they need to call in someone, like you're there. And I feel like to me that's like the Y-wing squadrons when they come in. You're like, I need a big help. We're going to watch your back, and you're just going to save the day and make it all okay. Yeah. So I think I'm putting you in a Y-wing.
Yeah, I think that
I'll take it.
The Y-wings are also like they're sometimes like the heroes sort of in the background. Like you always underestimate the ship because it's like it's a Y-wing, like it's a bomber. Like you don't expect it to be in the in the action. So I think that's
people don't think about one Y-wing made it home from the trench run. There was one Y-wing. So yeah. I'll take it. All right, our fearless leader, Corey. Eric, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I have two thoughts about this. I'm going to give us two options, and I mean they're very obvious: an X-wing and a B-wing. And
those two happen to be the only ones left.
Right, exactly. And that's why there's two options.
No. There's a U-wing, which I don't really understand why it's in Alphabet Squadron in the first place. It's a troop transport ship.
I'm not going to give you a U-wing.
Don't do that. But I don't want that.
I feel like there could be a B-wing, but purely based on Karth in our RPG, when you just go nuts and blow everything up. Or like when something goes wrong on the website and you're like, I'm going to rage and fix it. It's like a B-wing just demolishing a fleet. Yes. But also, you have that kind of classic leadership role of an X-wing.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to come at it, is from that angle. Look at, obviously, like, Rogue Squadron through the movies and through the books, and then look at with Alphabet Squadron, we still have an X-wing who is like the leader. And Corey, if you're anything, sir, you are the leader of Youtini. You are the spearhead of the operation. So I'd throw you in an X-wing any day.
Yep,
I'll take it.
I think you're an X-wing. It's a pretty decent squad. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I don't know. We should do these games more often. It makes me feel really good.
That's not the game, though, right?
No. We have the second half of this show is this game that is going to be, I assume, hotly debatable, which is going to be incredibly fun for us.
Yeah.
So
it's a good thing that we're recording remotely, that we're not in the same location, or hands would be thrown.
Exactly.
Before we jump into that, though, let's just have a few closing thoughts about Alphabet Squadron. Like, it's out now. You can buy it on Amazon. Get it through Youtini.com. We'll get a little bit of a kickback from that so we can continue bringing you guys awesome content. Let us know what you think about it. Jump in the Discord and tell us about it. We have a special channel for Alphabet Squadron itself, so you can get in there and talk about things while you're reading it. We'd love to hear what you think. If you think it's as controversial as I do, or you love it as much as Eric does. And Charles, I'm not sure where you're at yet. I think we need to wait till you're finished.
Yeah. The jury is out right now, so these last 80 pages will decide it all.
Yeah, let us know. And if you want to get the Alphabet Squadron tattoo with me, hit me up at Celebration. We'll do it. It'd be great. But if you did like Alphabet Squadron, or if you wanted a little more kind of classic Starship stories than you got in Alphabet Squadron, I assume you could try out the Legends X-Wing series. And I wanted to touch on that real quick because a lot of the reviews of Alphabet Squadron, ours aside, which again is up on Youtini.com right now, talked about the comparison between Alphabet Squadron and the old X-Wing series from Legends. And Charles, I know you've just recently been diving into that series. You've kind of been demolishing it whenever you've gotten a chance. So, given that you're most of the way through Alphabet, I wanted just to ask you, is that a fair comparison, or are they two separate things? And if they are, why should people jump into the X-Wing books now of all times?
It's a great question, and it's a yes and no answer, like they are so many times of, is it something that you'll enjoy if you enjoy Alphabet Squadron? So obviously you have, with the broad strokes, it's a similar type story of a squadron coming together and essentially having to perform some very important tasks. So in the X-Wing series, what it is basically Wedge Antilles forming a new Rogue Squadron after everything that you see Rogue Squadron do in the movies, in the original trilogy. So he is the commander. He brings on a crew of people that you will not know, so it is sort of similar to Alphabet Squadron in that respect, where you're coming in and you really don't know many people. And actually, from that standpoint, they throw a ton of characters at you too, so it is very complicated as well. But it is very different in a lot of ways too, and a couple of those things are that, one, it is more of an older style of writing. And what I mean by that is the characters, in a lot of ways, don't really have weaknesses that we're used to seeing. In more modern stories, you see characters that are very relatable and that have a large flaw that is going to be a big part of the story. The X-Wing series is literally just about the most perfect people of all time who
it's like
who
G.I.
assemble.
Joe.
Yeah, it's just like they're all like too squeaky clean. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like reading a Marvel comic versus reading a DC comic.
Yes.
Like it's Golden Age superheroes versus like Peter Parker's sad sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
It is that, and I will say that what it does a lot better than what I've read so far in Alphabet Squadron is it really does make you feel more like you're in the cockpit of the ship. The authors, and that might be interesting to people that haven't read them, but for clarification, I've only read Michael Stackpole's books so far in the series because he wrote half of it and then it actually switched to a different author. I think it was Aaron Alston wrote the other half. And it's actually two separate story arcs, so it's always Wedge Antilles, but the first arc with Stackpole has to do with Rogue Squadron, and then Wedge goes on and makes a new squadron called Wraith Squadron. That's the other half of the series. So I'm only familiar with Stackpole's stuff, but he goes out of his way to really make you understand the little idiosyncrasies of the ships that they're flying. Like, one of my favorite details came out of Rogue Squadron, which was the first book in the series, where Wedge tells the pilots in his squadron to not dial back their inertial compensators all the way to zero, meaning that when they're flying their ship, even in zero gravity, they'll still be able to feel a little bit of what their ship is doing. Like, they're not just, like, seeing it like it was on a screen in front of them. Like, they're one with the ship, if that makes sense. And it's little things like that he throws in that really make you understand more of what the pilot is experiencing, which I think is really cool.
I mean, that sounds awesome. And honestly, dude, I forgot. I'm looking at the first book, Rogue Squadron, on my shelf next to me right now.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to start that tomorrow. I had this whole plan for my reading order. I'm just going to do that because of what you just said.
You should. The X-Wing series it's like one of those older series that like to have a slightly negative thing to say. It's one of those series that like the Legends purists are obsessed with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it is so old school Legends. Like it's as old school Legends as Heir to the Empire is. I mean, it feels like Star Wars Legends, like hardcore. I mean, it definitely does. The way the characters are developed, the story they tell, like the way their idiosyncrasies about them being sort of G.I. Joe characters. They're heroes and perfect and flawless, and they don't make mistakes. And you know, it feels like you're watching a '90s cartoon. It does, because that's what Legends was at that time. And
yeah. It's a feel-good story.
Good.
You'll walk away feeling good. Like, you know, you expect your heroes to win, obviously. But each one is that I've read so far, and to be clear, I read Rogue Squadron. The second one is Wedge's Gamble. The third one is The Kratos Trap. And the fourth one is The Back to War. And that's the one that I'm actually still finishing up right now. But each one has a very distinct feel. Rogue Squadron is very much about just a classic, like a war story, like a unit that has a mission, very much like Alphabet Squadron. The next ones, they all kind of have their own thing. Like there's one where there's a big like court case, and you actually like really closely follow this court case, and it's like a crime novel more. And they each have their little small themes like that, but they're wrapped up so well. I'm assuming that Alexander Freed is going to wrap up Alphabet Squadron really well. He's certainly set things up for all the dominoes to fall, but Stackpole was a master of pulling everything together in the final pages. And when you finish one of the books, you will run to go pick up the next one because they are often cliffhangers, and something really, really huge happens in those last 3 pages, and it's such a great payoff.
Man, I love that. Like, it sounds super dope.
It is. You get a different experience that we have not. Listen, anybody, if you're a canon reader right now and you have not really dived into Legends, like the X-Wing series can give you a super unique experience that we literally have not had the opportunity to have yet in canon, which is a long series. Like there are a few old school Legends stuff that were really long series books. You have the New Jedi Order, which is like 19 books. It was insane. You had the X-Wing series, which I think is 10 or 11. How many is it? Yeah, it's 10. Okay. 10. You have the Legacy series, which is 9. You have the what's the one after the Legacy
series? Fate of the Jedi.
Yeah, the Fate of the Jedi series, which is I think 7 or 8. Like we just didn't get. We don't have any long series in new canon yet, and that was as a kid that was my favorite thing to read. Like when I got into Star Wars books, was those books that like it's like you said, you rush out to buy the next book because you know the characters. It's just like watching a multi-episode or multi-season TV show. I mean, because it's so long and it just like it's great. It's great.
Well, that's
so
what
I
was that's what I thought was so cool about finishing Alphabet and how I felt with Aftermath is that those are the only real. Well, I guess in the end, the Thrawn trilogy is ending this summer.
But they're not connected. The Thrawn trilogy is not really connected.
Right, it's just the characters. But like Aftermath was literally like 3 giant movies with the same cast, and Alphabet Squadron promises to be the same. So stuff like the old X-Wing books and things like you were saying is unique and should be celebrated. And if you want to go check those out, we actually have look-back reviews on the first 2 books, Rogue Squadron and Wedge's Gamble, that Jeremy from our team wrote up that are on the site right now. And again, if you want any of those books, it would super help us out if you go over to youtini.com, look for the book's profile. You can check out our little info that we put together on it. And there is an Amazon link there. If you click on it, we get a few cents to help us keep bringing this stuff to you. And tell us what you think about them, especially if we're wrong. Because, guys, I cannot wait for people to tweet at us and email us and be like, "Are you insane?"
I want to be shit upon.
Yes, please.
Please.
Time out.
Not like a weird fetish way. I mean, I want someone to argue
Corey,
with me hardcore.
We live in the world of 10-second sound bites, and you choose to say the sentence, "I want to be shit upon."
All right, you know what? I may have misjudged
I'm not going to shame anyone for what they want, especially on this podcast. That is part of the force.
Okay, Will.
I love you for what you are, and I'll tell my ship about it later.
Getting back to the show, yes, I want someone to just like what's the? Do you remember? We were playing the Star Wars RPG, and Matt, our GM, he kept saying Telos, calling the planet Telos, and I was like, it's Telos, and you sent that actually meme in our chat, and we could not stop laughing for like literally 15 minutes. There's that huge neckbeard guy, and he's like, actually, oh my god, please do that. Please do that to us. Tell us how wrong we are. We did have that one time. No, we had it. The person about the Kyber crystals.
Yeah,
remember?
But it was so polite.
It was polite.
Well, and no, we genuinely need to be corrected. Like we're happy to hear that kind of feedback.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go over this again at the end. If you want to send us some corrections, tweet at us at LivingForcePod. Throw it up in our Discord. Email us at livingforcepod@gmail.com. And I think we need to take a...
No, it's not livingforcepod@gmail.com. It's livingforcepod@youtini.com.
Youtini.com, whatever it is.
Don't give them the wrong email. Jesus.
Now I got to go back and listen. Eric's been saying Gmail every week.
No, I read off...
No wonder we haven't gotten any emails.
I'm shooting from the hip here. If I have it written down, it's right. And you know what? I'm going to recalibrate myself. I'm going to go to my cockpit. I'm going to talk to my engine about how much I love its soul. And we're going to take a quick break to hear from a Youtini member. Let's go.
Hello there. I'm Sage Goodwin, part of Team Youtini and host of the Star Wars Battlefront podcast. I help out with some of the bumpers and some of the ideas at Youtini, but mostly it's podcast stuff. So growing up, I'm a big fan of the Star Wars books. One of my favorite series, probably my favorite series, is the Galaxy of Fear books. Those ones really helped me get into reading. At a young age, I was reading those. The story of those really, really intrigued me. But alongside the books, I was a big fan of the video game. Still am. I do a podcast on it, Star Wars Battlefront podcasts. Been doing that for, it'll be 4 years this year. But this is a story. In 2005, my cousins had this Star Wars game. We go over there and visit. We stay like a week. They say, hey, we've got the Star Wars game. It's called Star Wars Battlefront. Have you ever played it? I'm like, no, not played it. I'm around 7 or 8 at this point. Like, no, I've never heard of this game before. My previous experience was growing up on the GameCube, playing the Lego Star Wars games and then the remakes for like Revenge of the Sith and Rogue Squadron. But they say, hey, we've got the Star Wars game. Let's play it. I'm like, yes, totally. I definitely want to play this game. Did you say Star Wars? I'm sold. Pop it in. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was mind-blowing. Never had I played a game like Battlefront. Usually it's just those one-off games. Mostly it was the Starfighter games like Rogue Squadron and then the Lego Star Wars games. So they introduce us to that, and my mind is just blown. We stay up night after night, waking up super early in the morning, staying up super late, playing this Star Wars game. And that really got me into the world of Star Wars video games even further than the Lego Star Wars games did. So every time we go over there, or anytime they visit us, we crack open our original PlayStation 2 with Battlefront 2, put it on the old CRT TV, and play deep into the night.
And we're back, and I mean, guys, that clip, 1 to 10, maybe an 11?
Stop doing that. We never get to listen to it.
It's the Rogue One episode. We gotta just feel it.
They record it separately for the listeners out there. We have no idea what happens. Eric just pretends like we get to listen to it.
I believe in them.
Week.
I just believe in them.
Oh, God.
But we are back, and it is time for our first ever Living Force podcast game segment. Now, in honor of Alphabet Squadron, I gave Corey and Charles a little homework assignment for this episode. We are going to make up our own dream team squadrons. Now, this is a leader and 4 other pilots, and this can be any era. You're putting together who you think would be the most effective strike team, and we are going to go around. We're going to go one by one. So I'll give a leader, Charles gives a leader, Corey gets a leader, then we go 2, 3, etc. And guys, I kind of just want to argue about it. I want us to say why it sucks, why, oh my god, I should have thought of that. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. So,
did you guys both name your squadrons too?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so should we do that first? Let's say,
yes.
Let's go around and give our names. So,
okay. All right.
I want to go first because my name is going to be
Okay.
super obvious to some people that know me. I got Molitor Squadron.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say Doo-Doo Squadron.
No, Molitor. For those that don't know, in our Star Wars RPG we used to play, we flew a YT-2400, and I named it the Molitor after the Alderaanian mammal that's on the Jarek table in the Falcon. So the Molitor Squadron are my folks. Let's see. Charles,
really,
what do you got?
I appreciate that answer. I thought about doing something, like I feel like a lot of times it is like an animal name or something. What did we have in our RPG too?
Bantha Squadron.
Bantha Squadron, right? Okay. So I thought about what about like Lothcat Squadron? Something like that. But I feel like squadron names need to be short, sweet, to the point. My squadron's name is Saber Squadron, named because they will slice through the galaxy and their enemies with the ease of a lightsaber through Ponda Baba's forearm.
I love it, and I hope that's all written on the side of every single fighter. That full tagline.
Yes, just like Ponda Baba. That's what it says.
All right, so we got Molitor Squadron, we got Saber Squadron. Corey?
Okay, I went super cliche and classic, but I think it fits my squadron. I have Victory Squadron.
Ooh, okay. You're just calling your shot.
Do what?
You're calling your shot.
Yes, exactly.
All right, and if they don't win, then the ships aren't around to discover the wreckage anyway. So
That's right.
All right, so without further ado, I want to start Molitor Leader. This was actually super hard for me because I was like, okay, who has leadership qualities but can also be a great flyer, and of all the eras, right? Of all the mediums, legends, everything. And I picked lead in Molitor Squadron in a B-Wing, Hera Syndulla.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
B-Wing.
In her B-Wing from Rebels.
Okay, in that episode, is that a B-Wing specifically that she's flying? Like, is that
that's
the
special?
That's
the first B-Wing.
Okay, that was the whole point of that, right?
Yes.
That was the introduction of the B-Wing. Okay,
yep, it's her flying
I always
that B-Wing.
wondered that.
She's my leader. I think she's given commands. She already led Phoenix Squadron like a total badass. And in Alphabet, I'll take her at either the Rebels age or at Alphabet age. I think she's just got a good head on her soldiers, and I trust her with my squad. Harrison Doolittle.
I want to hate that answer. Weirdly enough, I never even thought of Hera, but that is a great answer. I want to roll my sleeves up and say something bad about it, but gosh darn it, I respect it.
All right, well,
I have nothing negative to say about that at all.
Hell yeah.
But
Charles?
the B-Wing is interesting. But the B-Wing,
sure.
that is an interesting choice.
Okay, I can argue with that. That's a terrible ship to lead.
Why is it terrible?
It's slow and bulky and dumb.
Okay.
Well done. No, I think she's going to give her orders. She's not as fast, so I don't think she's a first striker, but she's going to be the heavy artillery. She can lead kind of from the middle or the back, and then once it's cleared out, she can come in and kind of do all the cleanup that she needs. And also, she might be the best leading flyer aside from Chas.
Yeah, I think from a leadership perspective, it's hard to beat that answer. I mean, look what she does in Alphabet Squadron, just in her general position, and I mean, she's a great pilot. Look at what she does in Rebels. So
yeah,
dang, Eric, good job. Way to start.
Who do you have, Charles?
Who's leading Saber?
So Saber leader. Well, let me tell you this first. I gave myself some stipulations that you all may not have put on yourself, but they affect what my answers are. So one, I chose no full-on Jedi. Okay. Because if you open that door, then I feel like it'd be hard to argue against anything other than a full squadron of Jedi, right? Because they have the Force on their side. So I said none of that, and I also said a pilot has to be in the ship that he or she would be most comfortable flying. So I actually would have never put Hera in a B-Wing, although of the fighters, that makes sense. Right. So that's what I did there. So without further ado, my leader, which makes sense after my X-Wing series thing, was Wedge Antilles. He's in an X-Wing.
Super solid.
I almost chose Wedge.
Yeah, I mean, look, he is the leader of Rogue Squadron. I chose him because he's a great pilot. He's one of the only pilots to survive the Death Star trench run. Really, only Luke and that one other Y-Wing, I think, are the only people that came back from that, and Han, but he kind of wasn't there. So I couldn't think of anyone else. He's very capable throughout the X-Wing series as a leader as well as a pilot, so he jumped right to my mind, and I wrote him right down.
All right. I love it. Corey, who's rounding us out?
My squadron leader is Poe Dameron.
Ooh, as leader.
Yes,
wow.
And I think you will appreciate this. This was completely unintentional. I didn't mean to do this, obviously, because we did that whole pick your ship thing like pretty spontaneously. Everybody in my squadron is flying X-Wing. I didn't mean to do that, but looking at them, that's what they all fly. So, yeah, Poe's X-Wing is sick. I think he is a great squadron leader. I don't think he's as great of a mission leader. I agree with Leia about The Last Jedi. That was a bad call.
Look at the beginning of Last Jedi for all the evidence there.
Exactly. That was a bad call. But as a squadron leader, he consistently is excellent.
Yeah, especially in the comic.
I was going to say, the entire comic backs up your choice, but I actually specifically couldn't put him in a leadership position. I bet what we see from him in The Rise of Skywalker will, solidify that choice.
Yep.
But from what we've seen so far, he's still a little bit too he doesn't have enough foresight. He's all about the bravado, and so that's why I personally wouldn't put him there. But I like the choice. I respect the choice.
But Corey, I'm going to pick up right on that because Molitor 2 is Poe Dameron in an X-Wing.
There you go.
I love him I love him right under Hera. I love Hera leading Poe Dameron. I think that's a great team.
Did you pick all different ships?
Not I have a couple doubles. I have one double. But so Poe's in an X-Wing.
Same.
Okay.
Yep. So for everything Corey said, I agree. I love Poe. I just want him one level below, but I think he still commands a lot of respect.
Charles?
2?
My number 2 in an A-wing, Eric, you will appreciate this, is Will Lark. He is second in my squadron, and it's very simple. He's an exceptional human being. He will serve as the moral compass of my squadron, and I think you need that near the top. So that's my answer.
Fair. I mean, I love that more than words can say.
We've already mentioned my number 2, Wedge Antilles.
Ooh, Poe leading Wedge.
You can't put Wedge 2. Come on.
I did.
Come on.
Wedge does not have to be the lead squadron.
Wedge is literally Red 2 at some point.
Behind Luke
literal
bleeping Skywalker, not Poe Dameron. There's a large difference.
I think Poe and Wedge could. I think Poe and Wedge could battle it out. I think they could. I think they would give each other a run for their money. I don't know who would win in that. Probably Poe.
Yeah. I mean, Poe's a better flyer than Wedge Antilles.
I said
it.
Obviously.
Blasphemy.
All right. Molitor 3. Charles, I do break your rule here. Because I'm putting Anakin Skywalker in a Jedi Starfighter.
I almost picked Anakin.
Eta-2 or whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's the chosen one. I mean, he's the best flyer. Look at...
Is he the chosen one?
Yes. Watch Mortis.
Are you
sure? We don't have time for that.
But I think that, I mean, Anakin just pure flying ability. I don't want him as leader or 2 because he's a little erratic. But especially Clone Wars level Anakin, I mean, just pure flying ability, you can't get better than Anakin Skywalker.
I don't think Anakin would do well in a squadron. I think
he's
he's a lone wolf guy, and that's it.
He can't even listen to Obi-Wan. He can't even listen to Obi-Wan when he's in his starfighter. He's not going to listen to anyone else.
Yeah. He would be the worst team player ever.
Oh, man. Put Harrison Dula with Anakin Skywalker.
That
being said, Anakin wouldn't listen, but somehow it would work out and he would save everyone despite his own antics.
And it would piss everyone off to no end.
Yeah. And he'd walk into the hangar afterwards and be like, I think that went well.
Yeah.
Then Hera hits him in the face with a helmet and is like, follow orders!
And then Anakin's like, well, I guess I'm kind of into that. And then it's a whole different show.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Charles, who's Saber 3.
Who is Jason Sindula's father. So Hera has a type, I suppose. I slightly break my own rule, and Corey, take off your headphones or plug your ears or something, because my Saber 3 is Corran Horn.
Oh my God!
Yes, in an X-Wing.
Can't do that. That's not allowed.
I can. And the reason I can do it is because I'm choosing Corran during the X-Wing series time period where he has not fully realized his Force abilities, which he does have later on. But he is repeatedly shown to be a ridiculously incredible pilot in the X-Wing series, and he is specifically chosen among the Rogue Squadron pilots in that series to do some of the craziest missions, and he pulls them off. At one point,
he's still a giant douchebag in the series.
Oh my goodness! No, he is a squeaky clean. He's a squeaky clean guy.
Douchebag. He's a squeaky
clean
douche.
Like someone insults his mother, and like it goes to his internal dialogue, and it's like, Corran knew he should be angered by that comment, but he rose above it. And then, like, he shakes their hand and walks away, and you're just like, that would never happen. Ever.
That's some cringy garbage is what that is.
Oh, my God. All right, this is officially our best episode ever because of Corran Horn. That's it.
Oh, God.
All right, Corey, what do you have, Corey?
Ooh! All right, so Victory 3 is going to shoot down Corran Horn, and who's doing it?
I have Luke Skywalker, and he will easily do it.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Flying. So here's a question.
So you're putting Luke and Wedge behind Poe? What is...
Yes.
You put that much stock in Poe?
Listen,
really?
Poe is the leader of the squadron, the person that commands and gives the orders. Luke and Wedge are both excellent pilots, but I think Poe would be
better leaders.
Than both of them.
I would actually agree. Poe is a better leader than Luke. Because I think Luke is a great flyer. Luke's a great Jedi. He's not a great military mind. Like
he's really emotional. He's very emotional.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Poe is not.
Lesser so. I'll say Poe's
so.
lesser.
Not in the
Poe
cockpit.
led a mutiny because he was like pissy about something.
I don't know about that.
Great summary of The Last Jedi there, Charles.
No, like that's one of the subplots. He acts like a flyboy who can't get his head out of his cockpit, right?
All right. So Luke Skywalker is 3. I accept that.
My wife just told me I'm full of shit from the living room, so that's good.
I love it. All right. Getting us ahead. Molitor 4 is my boy, my soul brother, Will Lark in his A-Wing as Molitor 4. Everything Charles said about Will, totally agree. He's the moral backbone. He's a phenomenal character. He's the best pilot to ever come out of Polinius. Will Lark for life. Simple. Molitor 4.
Can't argue with that.
Charles, hit us with Saber.
Saber 4, I will keep the Alphabet Squadron train running. I choose Kairos in her U-Wing. Why wouldn't I choose Kairos is really the answer, because she is like the biggest badass of all time. Mm-hmm. And again, I wanted to have a flexible squadron in terms of ships and personnel, so I think that it would be nice to have some different ships like a U-Wing. Mm-hmm. And finally, I just want to say that if my squadron ever found themselves grounded, which is really not uncommon in the stories of Star Wars, I want someone who's capable of handling themselves in hand-to-hand combat, ground combat, and Kairos is just downright scary.
Yeah, and if you have a U-Wing, you can also, you can transport if you find refugees or if you need to have ground troopers. I do get that.
Or if someone else's ship goes down and they eject, you can take them home.
Kairos and Will, I've always said Y. I've been saying YL in my head for whatever reason. But Kairos and Will are both in Alphabet Squadron for anyone that we didn't clarify that with.
They're tremendous.
Yes.
All right, Corey. 4.
My number 4, hardcore Legends throwback right here, Jaina Solo.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay.
So, do you guys know much about Jaina? Have you read those Legends books with her yet?
Only Young Jedi Knights.
Okay.
And only the first couple there.
I've read NJO, so I'm familiar with some of her flying abilities.
Okay. Jaina in New Jedi Order is an amazing pilot. At in I think it's the first book even. There's Lando is running this sort of gambling thing at this big asteroid cluster, and they have a game where they're in a shielded TIE fighter, and whoever gets the fastest time can survive the longest without bouncing off the asteroids and getting out of there, they win, right? And Jaina gets all absorbed in the Force, and her shields go out, and then she still sets the record time in the asteroid cluster with no shields in a TIE fighter, and and she's 12 too, by the way, which is amazing.
Right. Well, that's the Legends level superpower Jedi when they're
it is.
Let's go nuts.
It is, yeah. That's classic Legend stuff right there. Right. But Jaina's a great pilot. She's a good character too, so that's my number 4.
All right, don't blame it. To bring us home with Molitor 5, I thought about all kinds of people. I thought about Iden Versio. I thought about Thane Kyrell. I thought about Sienna Rhee. I thought about all kinds of different people, but it did come down to Luke Skywalker in an X-Wing because it's homage to Red 5. He's Molitor 5. That's his number.
That's fair.
And this, again, is OT Luke being a pilot. Yeah, for everything Corey said, he's Luke flipping Skywalker. He's a great pilot. I don't think he's a leader, but I think he gets the job done. And I think that he's a nice balance. So I got Hera with the leadership. I got Poe with the fancy flying and still a little bit of a leader role. I got Anakin with the pure power. I got Will with the emotional support, and he's also playing defense on everybody. And then I got Luke bringing up the rear, who's just consistent. So that's Molitor Squadron.
Okay, to round out Saber Squadron, in an X-Wing is Poe Dameron, where he belongs.
Oh my God!
At the back of the squadron.
Oh my God!
He needs to learn how to follow before he can lead, gentlemen. All right?
Not at 5
yet.
Not at 5.
He has not learned that yet.
Oh my God! He's easily the most talented of everyone you've named.
I cannot
Very wrong.
I cannot wait for listener feedback because you guys are jumping on me for Poe being 5 when you have Luke Skywalker.
It's an homage to Red 5.
I don't care.
He
if
would
it's
love
an homage
it.
to Corey getting shit upon. He's Luke Skywalker.
He's Poe Dameron.
You cannot put him at 5 and call me out for Poe at 5. I'm calling nonsense. Corey, who's your 5?
Corin Horn is above Poe Dameron.
Yes.
Oh my
down.
God, what is wrong with you, Charles? Jesus Christ. My number 5, bringing home Victory Squadron, is my man, Porkins.
What? Oh my God.
You just ruined the whole squadron.
I'm so glad I know who to shoot first.
Listen, Porkins he's the comedic relief, all right? He keeps everybody laughing the whole time, and somebody has to die in the cinematic scene in which everyone else survives, all right? This isn't perfect Star Wars.
Right.
Somebody's got to go.
Right.
Porkins got to go.
Did
It's fun.
Porkins get shot down? Or was
Yes!
No.
He goes, I'm all right! I'm all right!
No. I know he died, but did he actually get shot down, or was his the one that malfunctioned and he couldn't pull out of the dive?
You might be right.
Not everyone got shot down.
That's ringing some bells. Is that in, like, from a certain point of view or something? That kind of sounds familiar.
So he's that bad of a flyer that he can't pull up. You're in dodgeball right now, and you have in front of you.
His inertial dampeners were way too high, all right?
You have Jeb Porkins ahead of freaking Iden Versio, Plo Koon, like...
Listen, I need an extra X-wing,
Corey,
okay? Leave me alone.
Corey, even with my extra rules that I put on myself of no Jedi, Porkins has no business in Victory Squadron.
Oh my God, put 9-Nub in an X-wing and you're still going to do better than Porkins?
My God.
I regret nothing. I have Victory Squadron led by Poe Dameron, followed by Wedge Antilles, Luke Skywalker, Jaina Solo, and Porkins.
All right. So, listeners, please, I want to put a poll up after this episode goes out on Twitter. Go check our Twitter. If we remember to do this, we're going to say who had the best squadron, and we'll read it on the next episode. If you like...
100%.
So, one last time, let's go through Molitor Squadron. We have Harrison Dula, Poe Dameron, Anakin Skywalker, Will Lark, Luke Skywalker.
All right, Saber Squadron is Wedge Antilles, Will Lark, Corin Horn, Kairos, and Poe Dameron.
And Victory Squad is Poe Dameron, Wedge Antilles, Luke Skywalker, Jaina Solo, and Porkins.
All right, so check out our poll, and if we somehow forget to put it up, tweet at us at Living Force Pod. Tell us who you think was the best and who is in your squadron. Now, we did get one tweet from Dylan Sasser, at Dylan Sasser, with his squadron, which was Errant Squadron, and this was his dream lineup, all right? Anakin Skywalker as the leader. Okay. Lando, Poe.
Yeah, I forgot about Lando.
But also, I don't see him in Starfighters. But could be good. Poe Dameron, Rio, which I thought was a great choice.
Was a great choice.
It's a phenomenal choice. And then Thane from Lost Stars, which is also a fantastic choice.
Great choice.
So,
very
Dylan,
good lots of good expanded universe stuff in there too.
Yeah, I mean, Thane again is always going to have a place in my heart because the Lost Stars. I think he was so tremendous in that book, and he's a great flyer. And Anakin leading, maybe better than me putting Anakin at 3 because he can tell everyone what to do.
We should put Dylan in the poll too because he's got a full squad also.
All right, Errant Squadron's in there. So vote for your favorite. Give us your best. We'll read some on the show next week if we get them. Now, I know we're running long, but before we get out of here, we had one really good audience question. And it actually came in the form of an email from a listener named Henry. And it's a bit lengthy, but I'm going to read it out, and we want to discuss it because I thought it was really dope. Hi, Youtini. My name is Henry, and I have been an avid fan of Star Wars for many years. I discovered your podcast and website at the end of April and enjoy listening to you all discuss Star Wars EU. Thanks, Henry. I only recently started delving into the EU through the novels. This April, I picked up Heir to the Empire after hearing lots of praises for the book. I'm currently about halfway through The Last Command. Now, I have really enjoyed the Thrawn trilogy and found an interest in Mara Jade. Her relationship to Palpatine as Emperor's Hand is very intriguing, and her actions in the books are as well. Also, I don't know if you agree, but I have fan-casted Scarlett Johansson as Mara Jade. I don't know. I never really thought about it, but it's not a bad choice. After finishing Last Command, he's going to read Master and Apprentice. Good. Kenobi. Excellent. It's in our top 5. And Survivor's Quest.
Which is a very interesting choice. We should come back.
Yes. He also says his interest in reading Master and Apprentice came from the Living Force. So, glad we could help out. I hope you freaking love that book like we did.
Yeah, we sure did.
Now, he says, I know that Survivor's Quest focuses on Luke and Mara's relationship, and judging solely by the cover of Choices of One, assuming Mara Jade is heavily featured in it. She is. Now, other than Choices of One and Survivor's Quest, what books and comics do you all recommend I should read that prominently feature Mara Jade, as well as any other recommendations based on his reading list? Thank you, Henry. So thank you, Henry.
Yeah, fantastic question. I love getting really long ones like this, especially with lots of details in here because he's got a lot of stuff to digest. And the first thing I will say is I did respond to Henry when I got this. I don't even know if I told you guys this. I did respond to Henry when I got this, and I didn't send him a whole lot, just a little bit of recommendations. I pointed him to the Legacy series is actually what I sent him to.
Ooh, okay.
The Legacy series heavily features Mara Jade. She is absolutely a critical character to that entire story, and she has some very, very key moments in regard to Jason Solo's fall to the dark side. She's a very integral character in his storyline. So, that was the quick answer I gave him. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say, if you have even read a lot of stuff with Mara Jade.
I haven't read a lot with Mara Jade. All I've read with her, frankly, is the Thrawn trilogy. And she was easily my favorite part of that trilogy as well, which may be a little heresy to say. I told you guys before, I don't know if I've said this in the podcast, I like Thrawn, but I find him a little too invincible at some points. I find it kind of dull that he's just going to win most of the time. Whereas Mara was such a complex character. She's kind of more like a canon character in that regard. She had a lot of levels and stuff like that. So I super enjoyed her in that. But no, I don't know where to go for her. But to the other part of his question, what else to read? If you end up liking Master and Apprentice Henry, go to Dooku Jedi Lost, man. I mean, I think because that's going to be a lot of cool Force things, a lot of Force theory, and a lot of cool character evolution like you find in Master and Apprentice. And on the opposite side of that, I would also say go read Bloodline by Claudia Gray if you haven't, because
or Lost Stars
or Lost Stars. Any Claudia Gray novels, which is the easiest recommendation we can ever give. But that's awesome to get more characters like you're going to find in Master and Apprentice and some more complex storylines. Charles, are you a Mara Jade fan?
I was going to ask, is Mara Jade, is she in the X-Wing series at all?
Ooh,
Does she show up ever?
No, she's
I
not
didn't
at
think
all.
It's been years since I read that.
Yeah, no, even Luke is only like reference really from Wedge remembering his time with him, but he's not, or she's not in there. So yeah, I mean, I've read Mara Jade from the Thrawn trilogy as well, and I like her a lot as a character, and obviously she's back in the New Jedi Order series. Actually, the first thing I want to say to Henry is be careful, don't Google too much about her. I hope you haven't yet, just because she does have a really big hand in some stuff later on that maybe you want to get to in the natural progression of the story. So don't spoil yourself on her story if you can handle it. I think Eric and Corey have made really good suggestions. You mentioned specifically, though, in your email, Choices of One, and I do think that is really meant to be read after the events of Allegiance, which is another novel from Timothy Zahn that follows the same characters that I think are in Choices of One, just it takes place slightly beforehand. So I would pick up Allegiance before you do that. Otherwise, I think, you probably have a good start from what everyone else has said.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I was trying to remember what book it is that she shows up in. I read that book relatively recently, in the last 5 years or so. It's recent for my Legends reading. I can't remember what it was. It might have been, I wonder if it was the Corellian trilogy. That's later. That can't be right. Do you guys have any idea what book it is that she shows up in? I specifically remember this, you probably haven't read it. There's a desert sort of planet, I think, and it's where Mara shows up with Luke, and she's like,
is it Tatooine?
I don't think it's Tatooine.
Is it Jeddah?
No, it's not.
Is it Jakku?
Shut up! No.
Is it Pasana?
Mara shows up to kill Luke, I think, and it's that classic they both get screwed over and then they have to work together to survive situation, right?
And that happens in the Thrawn trilogy.
That's the Thrawn trilogy?
Yeah, that's the Thrawn trilogy, man.
My wife yelled that from the other room. She's like, "That's the Thrawn trilogy!"
Just go get Caitlin a mic and bring her on.
I know. Caitlin used to be on the
more
dang
than
show. You. Clearly, she does. Yeah, I guess that was the Thrawn trilogy. I haven't read that in so long. It has been literally
book.
10 years since I read the Thrawn trilogy. I need to read it again.
Yeah.
That was the Thrawn trilogy then. Okay, I didn't realize that she was introduced in that.
Yep.
Well, I'm wrong then.
So yeah, because Henry mentioned Survivor's Quest, and that's a decent bit on, right? I mean, that's obviously when Luke and Mara already have some sort of relationship. And I think I don't want to spoil too much for Henry if he's listening, but there are comics that matter too, and I haven't necessarily read all of them, but maybe we can get him a better answer for comics later on.
Yeah, I'm just not as well versed in the comics as I feel like I should be. We should take a deep dive into comics at some point. Maybe we can make that a goal for like the second half of 2019 or something, just to really get into the comics.
I like it a lot.
I'm with you. Mara Jade is a super important character. I will just reiterate the Legacy series. I think if you really love Mara Jade, like there's a lot that goes on in that series, but like if Mara Jade has a series, I think it's the Legacy series. Like, because she's just so important in that. I mean, she's one of many characters, but she's incredibly, incredibly important in that series. And I think you'd like it. And the Legacy series is a perfect jump, I think, into lots of other stuff.
Totally. And Henry, honestly, please, if you do jump into Legacy, if you do end up doing a Claudia Gray deep dive, keep us posted. Send us another email like you did at livingforcepod@youtini.com. We'd be happy to keep everyone kind of up to date on your reading list. And if you
sorry, the last thing I was going to say, Henry, is I would just kind of a word of caution. I would be a little hesitant to completely advise you to become obsessed with Mara Jade and only read things about her. Like I think a lot of folks tend to do this sometimes when they first get into Star Wars books. They really like a character, they really like an author, and they just read everything there is about that one character, and then they really have trouble jumping to the next thing. You've clearly found a character you really, really like, and you've already started with some really, really great books. I would, honestly, if I got to choose what you read next, I would hand you something completely different than some of the stuff you're already at, Master and Apprentice, Dooku. I would take any of those books that we have in our foundation of books, whether that's Kenobi or Lost Stars, and let you try something completely different from something you already know that you like, because you can always come back to the stuff that you know you like.
That's true.
But Star Wars is huge, and there's so much other stuff out there to sort of try to digest, and just read what you love. I mean, if that's Mara Jade, then let it be, but give other things a try.
He mentioned Kenobi. You mentioned Kenobi. Yep. I will second Kenobi.
All right, so Kenobi, all these other books, let us know what you choose, frankly. And if you guys have other suggestions for Henry, tweet at us, email us, give us some ideas, and jump on our Discord, give each other recommendations. We love seeing what our community recommends as well, because, man, we're all trying to read all this content, and there's so much of it, we just kind of need a guide. So, I'm going to start the X-Wing series this week, and next week I'll tell you guys what I'm thinking about that. But until that point, I think we did it. Guys. We ran a little long this week on our Rogue One episode 11 of The Living Force, but I think we've done it. Thank you all for listening to our first experimental episode on our new game, on our Alphabet Squadron updates, and on our general hilarity and off the rails that happened. Thank you to all of our new followers again. If you are new followers on Twitter, new followers of the podcast, go ahead, subscribe, follow, chat at us. We would love to hear from you. Now, wherever you get your podcasts, Google, Apple, Stitcher, other things, go ahead, subscribe, rate and review, and tune in every week to hear the crew at Youtini, mostly us, talk about the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Again, reviews do help us find new people with the weird algorithm metrics. And head over to youtini.com after you do that for reviews, articles, and comprehensive book profiles on every single story in the Star Wars galaxy. As we said earlier, our review for Alphabet Squadron is up, so go ahead and check that out if you like. If you want your thoughts on the show like Henry, email us at livingforcepod@youtini.com, tweet at us at livingforcepod, or join our Youtini Discord community by going to youtini.com/discord. You can find us personally on Twitter. I am at Eric Eilerson, Corey is at DocStarWarsMD, and Charles is at C. Hankel. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Freddie, our tech wizard who is back from vacation, and Wes, our community manager. Thank you to Corey and Charles for podcasting with me, guys. Thank you to the audience for voting for Molitor Squadron as the best squadron that there ever is. And we're out of time. I'm sorry. And as always,
it's not gonna happen. Boo! You suck.
May the Force be with you.
All right, Corey, go get your chest shit upon.
Bye.
Listen, you said that way too close to Eric's outro, and now it's gonna have to be in the show.
Yeah, it is.
Oh darn.
Gross. That's disgusting. Bye, everybody.
there is joy. There is no division. There is union. There is no apathy. There is passion. There is no gatekeeping. There is community. This is the Youtini Star Wars Fan Code. Embrace it, live by it, and above all, trust in the living force. That's all for this week. Join our community and surround yourself with like-minded fans by visiting us online at youtini.com. Until next time, may the force be with you.